Dragged into darkness. The mountain cabin betrayal, a true story of survival and revenge. The snow fell in fat, lazy flurries as the sun sank behind the jagged peaks of the Gray Ridge Mountains. The forest was quiet, too quiet, like the calm before a storm. Mia Lewis tightened the scarf around her neck and pulled her jacket closer. Her breath made tiny clouds in the frigid air, and the only sound was the crunch of snow under her boots. This was supposed to be a simple winter retreat with her boyfriend, Ethan. A weekend to decompress, away from the demands of city life. But now she was all alone. She remembered the moment everything changed with unsettling clarity. They had set off early that morning, eager to explore a rarely used trail near the ridge's old logging route. Ethan had insisted they stick together, joking it would be a legendary adventure. But 2 hours in, Mia twisted her ankle on an unseen route and went down hard. She cried out, more from surprise than pain, but Ethan just looked at her. And then something in his eyes shifted. Before she could ask what was wrong, strong hands grabbed her wrists. Her mouth opened in a scream that never came as cold metal clamped around her wrists, chains, heavy and biting into her skin. Ethan. What? Why? She gasped, heart pounding. He didn't respond. His jaw was tight, eyes distant. He said something, but the words were lost in the howl of the wind. They dragged her, yes, dragged, through thick snow, up and down slopes that should have been impossible in the winter unless you were hunting for something very dark. Mia's ankle throbbed with every rough patch of earth. Her palms bled where the chains chafed her skin. She begged, pleaded, even wept. Still, Ethan didn't slow down. After hours in the cold, her voice finally gave out, but the tears didn't stop. Every time she thought they would turn back, Ethan dashed forward with ruthless energy, like a man possessed. And then she saw it, a cabin. It looked abandoned from a distance, blackened wood, sagging roof, windows half frozen over with ice. But each step toward it felt like a descent into a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Once inside, the cold seemed more vicious, as though the walls themselves wanted her gone. A stone fireplace stood dead in the corner, and faint footprints in the dust suggested someone had been here recently. Ethan chained her to a heavy bolt near a rotting support beam, the metal biting deep into the old wood with a reverberating clang. "I'm sorry," he whispered once the lock clicked shut. "I didn't want it to be like this." Mia stared at him in disbelief. Betrayal cut deeper than any physical wound. "Why?" she asked, but all she got was silence. His back turned to her, shoulders shaking with what looked like suppressed emotion, not regret, but something heavier, crueler. Hours passed in heart-stopping terror. Mia kept her eyes on the door, waiting for anything, rescue, a miracle, even death, to end her misery. It didn't come. By the second night, hunger and exhaustion tried to swallow her will to live. The chains made every movement agony. Her ankle was worse, raw and swollen. The cold was relentless, and every breath felt like inhaling razor blades. She dared not sleep, afraid that if she closed her eyes, she'd never see daylight again. Footsteps finally echoed through the cabin at dawn. Not Ethan's. A tall figure stepped in, boots sinking in snow, face obscured by a hood. Mia's heart lurched. "I see she's still awake," the stranger said, voice low and smooth. Mia's chest tightened. "Please, help me." The stranger's eyes flicked to the chains binding her. "Not yet," he said. "Ethan's orders." Ethan appeared in the doorway, thin and worn, but not defeated. There was a fire in his eyes that made Mia's stomach twist. "Go," he told the stranger. "Give her a moment." When the stranger left, Ethan closed the distance between them slowly, like a man treading dangerous ground. "I never wanted this," he whispered. "But they promised us a way out, a way to live differently. A way to fix everything that's wrong." "What are you talking about?" Mia's voice was strained, but fierce. "Fix what?" By chaining me up like an animal. You dragged me here like I was nothing. Ethan's face crumpled. For a moment she thought he might apologize. But then his eyes hardened. They said once she's here, we'll all be free, he said. Free of debt, free of worry, free of everything that holds us back. Mia's mind raced. Free. From what? Then she remembered his recent nights on the phone, the sudden secrecy, his restless nights. Something had shifted in him, but she never guessed it would lead here. Ethan, you don't have to do this, she said, voice trembling. You can take me home. We can figure it out together. He hesitated. Then, without warning, he turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him. Left alone again, Mia curled her arms around her body, trying to stay warm. Her ankle throbbed unbearably. Time lost meaning. She drifted in and out of delirium, hallucinating shadows on the walls, imagining voices in the wind, thinking she saw Ethan's face in every flicker of the cold light. Just when she thought she couldn't endure any more, there was a noise, sharp and distinct. A crack in the cabin's silence. Hello, a voice called from outside. Strong, authoritative, concerned. Mia blinked, unsure if her mind was playing tricks. Help, she croaked. The door rattled. Light spilled into the room, bright and warm compared to the frozen gloom. A man stepped in, rugged and dressed in gear that suggested he knew these mountains well. Search and rescue, maybe, or a hunter. Hey, he said gently, kneeling beside her. You okay? I heard noises last night. I thought it was the wind, but... Mia tried to speak, but fear choked her voice. The stranger's eyes softened. It's okay, he said. I'm here to help. He examined the chains. These are old, but they'll need a torch to cut through. Don't worry, whatever happened here, I'll get you out. Relief washed over her in a hot, sudden wave. Tears came unbidden. The stranger worked quickly, and within minutes the chains fell away with a clatter that felt like freedom itself. Mia rubbed her sore wrists and ankle, trying to stand. Easy, the stranger said with a reassuring smile. I've got you. She leaned on him as they stepped outside. The mountains stood silent, cold, and beautiful, a stark contrast to the horror she'd just escaped. Who did this to you? The stranger asked once they were a safe distance from the cabin. Mia hesitated, but then the truth poured out, every detail, every moment of fear, every word Ethan had said. When she finished, the stranger's expression hardened. You did the right thing by telling me, he said. I'm going to get help. And he did. By midday, rescue helicopters circled the ridge, their powerful rotors slicing through the mountain air. Mia was lifted onto a stretcher, her body weak but her spirit surprisingly resilient. She watched the cabin grow smaller below her. Somewhere inside, Ethan was still there, trapped by something he couldn't escape, the guilt of what he'd done and the consequence of his choices. Days later, in a hospital room warmed by sunlight and surrounded by people who cared, Mia tried to make sense of everything. The betrayal cut deep, but so did the courage she found in herself. She knew a long road of healing lay ahead, but she also knew she had survived something unfathomable. In the weeks that followed, she returned home and began piecing her life back together. The police found Ethan at the cabin, weak from starvation and snow exposure. When he saw Mia, his face crumpled with remorse. He didn't speak. Words would never be enough. But Mia didn't feel anger anymore, not the burning, destructive kind. Instead, she felt something powerful, clarity. She had been dragged into darkness, betrayed by someone she loved, but she had clawed her way out. She had survived. She took up hiking again, not to run from the past, but to reclaim the mountains that once held her in terror. Each step forward was a testament to her strength. One morning, months after her rescue, she stood at a ridge overlooking a valley lit by golden sunrise. Snowflakes drifted gently, soft, peaceful. Not like that day in the mountains. Not like the nightmare she escaped. She closed her eyes and breathed it in. The cold air, the beauty, the promise of new beginnings. She had been broken, yes. But she was stronger now. And she was free. Right finger subscribe for more emotional survival stories and real-life inspired narrations. Thumbs up, like, share, and comment your thoughts below.